Our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, as we begin this time with prayer, just by doing that, we're acknowledging that we need you in our lives. We are acknowledging, God, that you are the source of all knowledge, all wisdom, all truth. But God, we also come to you and ask you for grace, and we ask you for mercy. We ask you for your goodness in our lives as well. And today, as our elected officials conduct the business of our community to make this a better place, we pray that you would put your hands upon them, give them the wisdom they need, give them the direction you want them to go. God, we also pray for our community. Help us, Lord, to be a community that glorifies you, a community that is a model to others around us. And God, we pray for your blessing upon all those who help to make it possible. We pray especially for our leadership Vance that is here today, Lord. We pray that you would help us all to grow and understand the business of how to make this place better. Once again, Lord, we pray for our men and women in uniform all over the world and even here. Bless them, Lord, as they stand for us and as they stand guard over us. We love you. We thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you again. Right now, I'm gonna call forth Judge Adam Keith for the oath of office for our new appointed commissioner.
All right, at this time, Ms. Fanny, if you have any family members you would like to join. Have someone you'd like to hold on. All right, Ms. Fanny, are you prepared to take the oath? All right, you would place your left hand down, raise your right hand. Left hand down, raise your right. All right, I state your name.
Therese Bain.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
That I will support the Constitution
of the United States.
of the United States.
So help me God. I state your name.
Therese Bain.
Do further solemnly and sincerely swear.
Solemnly and confirm.
Do further solemnly and sincerely swear.
Firmly, solemnly,
And sincerely.
and sincerely swear
That I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional
and to the constitutional
powers and authorities
powers and
which are
authorities
or may be
or may be
established
established
for the government thereof.
for the government thereof.
And that I will endeavor
That I will endeavor
to support,
to
maintain,
maintain
and defend the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with
not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
the state.
So help me God.
So help me
I state your name. Do further swear
God.
that I will well
That I will well
and truly
and truly
execute the duties
execute
of the office of County Commissioner
the office of Commissioner
according to the best
according to the best
of my skill and ability,
of my skill and ability,
according to law.
according to law.
So help me God.
God.
Congratulations, Commissioner. Commissioner. Commissioner, I just need you to sign right here.
Yes.
So welcome aboard, Commissioner Fain.
Stay. Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard. Now we're gonna have the recognition of the Leadership Vance participants.
It gets bigger and bigger every year. Come on, a little bit closer.
Get your heart beating.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Chairman and Commissioners. We are glad to be back. It seems like just yesterday we were here. I'm Sandra Wilkerson, the president of the Henderson Vance County Chamber of Commerce. And of course, you know, Leadership Vance is a committed 7-month program that we have 19 people in this year. This is our business leaders right here from Henderson and Vance County. And I believe this is the largest class that I've had. But we did have to defer 6 others. So we're growing and we're proud of that. We got to spend February 27th with Vance County all day, and I did make notes. I used to come up here and didn't make notes, but those days are over. Thank you to the department heads because our class got to interact with all the department heads that morning. County Manager Renee Perry gave an update of the county, and if I can just pause a minute to say thank you, Renee Perry, for the excellent job you did at the State of Vance County that was held at the Henderson Country Club for the Chamber of Commerce. Excellent. You and Jeremy did a great job, so we appreciate that. We had the largest crowd we'd ever had. We sold 133 tickets. So great information. We got to visit the tax office, 911, the Senior Center, Department of Social Services, Vance County Fire, EMS, and Veteran Services. And our fabulous tour guide, Frankie Nobles, led us, and we didn't get lost not one time. And can't forget Kelly Grissom, who loves being on the steering committee for the Leadership Vance. She hates it, but I have to say that every year. But she got us straight and went with us, met us again at lunch, and so thank you, Kelly, for all your work. What I'd like to do is get these class members to introduce themselves and to tell where they work so that you'll be familiar with. But before I do that, this will be our 34th year that we've done Leadership Vance. And it was actually 35 years ago when we started the program, but COVID took us 2 years to finish. And I have to let Commissioner Kelly say what class he attended.
It's been so long ago. It's when Dennis Carr was, the Carr.
You were in class number 1, 35 years ago.
Okay.
See, so it was because of people like him that this has, and you don't remember. Okay, well, we're gonna have to give you a refresher course.
You should have prepped me before we got here.
I guess.
But that's with David and what was it? What's the lady that left? Carolyn Stanley.
You remember your classmate, Miss Jenny
we
Hester was in that
started-
class as well,
started.
Tommy's
It was
wife.
the idea and we got it started. 35 years, right?
So we thank you. It's still going strong.
Very good.
Okay, let's start over here with the little guy, Tyler, and you can introduce yourself.
Darrell Jones, I'm the shelter program manager of the Henderson Men's Shelter and also the house manager of the Hope House. And I work for Community Partners in Hope.
I'm Katie Lee. I'm a registered nurse and assistant program director at Vance Recovery.
I'm Donna Young, coordinator for communications and marketing for Mariah Parham Health and Mariah Parham Health's public information officer.
I'm Jamie Dittmeyer. I'm the HR director for the city of Henderson.
I'm Victoria Glasscock. I'm the regional program coordinator at Cartar Regional Council of Governments, but I also handle our communications as well.
Could they step to the mic when they, please?
Okay, okay.
I am Major Beth Mallard. I run the Salvation Army here and in the surrounding 5 counties.
I'm Joseph Faulkner. I'm the founder and president of Paddle Consulting Group, which is an Amazon consulting and management company.
Abadan Shah and senior pastor at Clearview Church.
Amber Varner, branch manager at First National Bank.
Good evening. I'm Devontae Kittrell. I'm the Assistant Tax Administrator for Vance County.
Hi, I'm Judy Askew. I work with Benchmark Community Bank.
Angela Simmons. I am the Dean of Workforce Readiness, Health and Public Safety at Vance Granville Community College.
She's the lady I want you to meet. She's from Rocky Mountain. She's from Rocky Mountain.
Ferdinand Rouse, Economic Development Director, Henderson Vance County Economic Development.
David Caudle, Operations Director at the Henderson Family YMCA.
Penny McGee, President of Corner Clean. We are a commercial cleaning company. Thank you.
Charles Tarrantine Jr., partner at Exquisite Cuts on Garnett Street and also the project manager of Chestnut Street Park Beautification Project.
It's on the last one. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Marcus Sharp, 4-H agent here at Vance County, specialized in youth development, kids age 5 to 18.
You want me to go again, Mr. Kelly? Since you- Okay.
I'm Daryl Jones. I'm the Shelter Program Manager at the Henderson Men's Shelter, and I'm also the House Manager of the Men Transition Hope House. And I work for Community Partners of Hope.
I'm Katie Lee, registered nurse and assistant program director at Vance Recovery.
Tyler Davis, dispatch.
I guess I'm actually the last one. My name is Victoria Glasscock. I am the regional program coordinator at CARTAR Regional Council of Governments. Nice to meet you.
You see, we've got a variety, a good mixture of people. We're going to learn how to clean houses. We're going to learn how to write articles for the dispatch. And we're going to learn how to preach and run the Salvation Army. So we're good to go. So thank you so much for having us tonight. And we're going to stay for most of the meeting. And so we look forward to it.
Well, we want to thank you all for being a part of leadership. Vance. My son was a product. My son is a product of leadership Vance, and he happened to be here tonight. And so he always talked about it. Right now, we're gonna have an introduction of Jennifer Williams by our county manager.
Jennifer, can you come up for us? Can you hear me? Yeah. Sometimes it works. Like I gotta hold it. So Commissioners, Jennifer Williams is replacing Miss Portia Brooks, who retired effective March 1st. So Miss Jennifer Williams stepped into her new role on February 24th. So we are excited to have you on board to take our tax office to the next level. We talked about that. So anything you want to share with the Commissioners?
Good evening. I'm on the spot.
Sorry.
So good evening, and I'm looking forward to working with you all. Thank you.
You want to just tell them a little bit about how long you've been with the tax department or your tax experience?
Sure. I started with taxes in 2004 in Wake County. I then became the assistant tax administrator in Vance County. Then I became the tax listing manager in Chatham County. Then I came back to Vance County as the deputy tax assessor, and now I'm the tax administrator.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now we have Frankie Noble, employees engagement team.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's a great honor to be here tonight to present this Employee of the Month plaque and check and all that goes with it. This is what the peers had to say about our recipient, which is Carol Revis with Social Services. We can always count on Carol to be available when needed and has the wealth of knowledge, and it's a great resource. Carol is thorough with her work and makes it easy for HR to work through the recruitment process and any changes to personnel files. Carol seems to always be present and communicates with us when she will be out of the office. Above and beyond, anytime I have a question or need help, Carol is caring and always willing to help, even if it's outside her normal task. Even on the hard days, Carol is always staying positive and gives 110% with all she does. Can I get Miss Carol to come up? Miss Weaver's not here, is she, Carol? Is Sandy here? I don't think so. So here's what Sandy had to say about Miss Carol for us. Carol is always helpful and volunteers to help with anyone she can, regardless of or responsibility of the delegation. She works late as needed to make sure tight deadlines are met. We get Miss Fain to come down.
We will now have our public comments. Please limit your conversation discussion to 3 minutes and please state your name and where you live when we call you for. Bill Russell, Gun Control.
My name is Bill Russell. I live down in Gilbert. Little deaf, so I have a hard time hearing what you're saying sometimes. I was up here about a year or so ago.
Can you give us your address, please?
Ma'am?
Address, your address. Where you stay,
What?
your address.
Oh, address?
Where you stay,
It's
yes.
156 12 Oaks Lane. That's down in Gilbert off 39. Okay, I didn't hear it. I was up here about a year ago, so the same problem we had the other day. I gave you all a copy of what I had here, but I'm gonna try to shorten it up a little bit. I was at home last Friday. And there, my home is here. There's one to the right, less than 100 feet between us. There were people outside shooting, I believe it was AR-15, semi-automatic rifle, high powered. Approximately 40 shots were fired, not at the ground, but straight back like this. Now, back behind my place, the Mints live. Right in line with where they were shooting at, there is a boat, a shed, and a pond that we fish in. I called the sheriff's department. Lisa DeMint also called. It took him over 30 minutes to get there. Now, when he got there, I felt sorry for this deputy. He was in danger. He told me he was the only person on duty. The rest were in transporting. He was the only sheriff's assistant or deputy to go anywhere. If he came to a shooting situation, his life was in danger. You got to make sure that never happens to any sheriff's person again. Period. So he said there was nothing he could do. There was no law against shooting in Vance County. Now, people shooting back there, we fish, their property. Thank God it wasn't at their house. Lisa called, she complained also. So to pass a little time here, he left, and if he got there 5 minutes sooner, he could have stopped the people that were doing the shooting. They were still there. And they were a visitor or guest of the people next door to me. I go to bed that night, and I'm getting old, have a hard time sleeping sometime. But 2 o'clock in the morning, I was woke by gunshots from the same gun. 2 o'clock a.m., approximately 4 shots were fired. I called the sheriff again. Well, I had my hearing aids out by the time after I got done calling him. My cell phone was turned off. And Lisa told me apparently he pulled up in my driveway a few minutes after 2, the deputy, whoever was coming back. Now, he didn't knock on my door, probably a good thing he did that time in the morning. But he left. I never heard a word from anybody. And my biggest concern, I went by to see the sheriff the other day, he was not in. I tried to contact the landowner, Heidi Owens. I went to where she used to work at yesterday, and they told me she'd quit working 2021, and they didn't have any idea where she was at. She is the landowner of that property. So, tried to talk to her, and I decided I was coming back up here. You've got a copy of what I had to say. You should have a copy of this right now. I would greatly appreciate it. I think the people in Vance County would. I'm not up here to ask you to take the way a farmer can shoot on his property, but people that live in a development, we need to have a restriction of shooting within 100 yards, 300 or 500 feet of an occupied dwelling. That is only a normal thing. It's not restricting your gun control, your house, what you have, but it's protecting the citizens of Vance County. Now, I want to ask you tonight to start thinking about it and do something on that before somebody actually gets shot. And I'll be quite honest with you. I'm not lying. If they shoot in my direction, they're gonna be laying on the ground when they get dead. And I will shoot and I do not
Thank
miss.
you, Mr. Russell. Thank
I
you
don't
so
ever
much.
want to have it happen.
Thank you so much for,
And I want you, please do something to protect the citizens of Vance County. And I've got to get, my wife is sick. She's got problem breathing and everything. I've got to get home to her now, but
Thank
I
you,
do
sir.
appreciate your time
Thank you.
and let me know what you do.
All right, thank you.
I know this is a
But
public,
it could go into a public safety. Maybe we could,
I know this is a public hearing, but, you
no,
know.
this not, this public comment.
Somebody to look into it.
Yeah, maybe we can look at it in public safety. We'll put it into public safety. Is this the same thing we have? We already got them. Okay. But thank you, but we will put it into a committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you even. Thank you all now.
Thank you. We will. Next, Angie Rhines, 3 minutes, forensic audit, jail, opia. State your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Angie Ryan. I live at 327 Franklin Road. And first of all, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I know that your position is a difficult one. I also want to say just real quick, I'm not bringing up taxes tonight. But I will say this about taxes. It brought a whole lot of us together, and I do appreciate that. What I do want to talk about, though, is the county manager's report, and I appreciate that. That is a plethora of some positive goals here, and I like to see that, so I wanted to spread that. And Ms. Fain, welcome to the board. With that being said, I am concerned about the forensic audit. I really think that this is something that we need to address and move forward with, because I think that the citizens deserve that. And I think you as a board and anybody in positions that are accountable deserve that. They need a clean slate. I don't really see why we're even voting on it, but you know, you have to. But I really think that the citizens and you all deserve it as well. So I'm for that. And you know, when I'm for something, my mouth opens and I advocate for it. So that's just what happens. And concerning the jail and the renovations and things that need to be done with the jail, several months ago, Ms. Faines, you brought up a very good question about the allocations of funds in the past that were not used. I want to make sure that when we, and I say we, when the county gives funds to that jail for doors to be fixed or locks to be done, whatever, that it is allocated for just that. For instance, $400,000, I believe it was, for video and camera, it never got spent. Why the heck did we give the money to them? Why was it even asked for? If it's a need, then we are going to address it. That was proven. You gave the money, but it was not allocated. Who are you going to hold accountable to spend that money as it's given? Is it done in a certain amount of time? And I'm asking some rhetorical questions here. I realize that, but I'm aware, and so many other of us are aware. We know that this is going on, but we want justification for the money that you all are voting to give to that jail. I think that's fair enough. And also, with the opioid grant, I do understand, Ms. Baines, that with your background, that we're blessed to have you on there. I just ask that when you're considering that opioid grant, I just want to bring up, and I don't work for these people, but I've done a lot of research on them with the Recovery Alive program. That is a program that it's showing to prove that the recipients in that program, they are recovering. They are learning how to cope in society. They are working and they're paying their bills. We cannot use this opioid grant money to hand out handouts. That's not what I think is going to recover people. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Rowan. Next is John Maddock, Vance Recovery. I hope I said your name right, Maddock.
Yeah, we don't spell it right. Or we don't say it right,
That's
but you
fine.
said it perfectly.
Thank you.
My name is John Maddox. I work at Vance Recovery. I had 3 things to say in my 3 minutes, but I have 4. I saw that Mr. Bob Kemp is here and he helped us with our new location, which is out on 39 behind the old Waffle House. I invite everyone to come on out and see what we do at Vance Recovery. We are very proud today to be part of this fight and the research and the results in keeping people alive. We are now, just today, at pre-fentanyl levels of overdose death. And I know we have some opioid money, so let's keep it going. We believe at Vance Recovery, where there is life, there is hope. And there is no life that is less worthy. It is such a journey that we see our people take. I did want to just really focus on recovery. Please, let's really focus on recovery and what works. We are the gold standard treatment for opiate use disorder, and we have a terrible marketing campaign because all of our successes are invisible and all of our failures come with red and blue lights. I just want to give one quick idea of something that we're doing at Vance Recovery in conjunction with the Granville Vance Health Department. We just started hepatitis C testing and treatment. The barriers to treatment are high. We have a person who has been using opiate and injecting is 18 to 88 times higher chance of having hepatitis C. So the health department has come out, they started testing. We've got about, on day 1, they doubled the number of treatment possibilities that they had. They came out day 2. I was yelling at the person in charge of it. I said, we got to do more marketing. The health department said, don't do any more marketing. We're going to have to bring more staff. So the need is great. The hope is great. We are right now turning this tide. And I implore this body to engage with treatment that works. Thank you.
Thank you. I want you to know that we do hear your comments and we do take it into consideration. But right now I want to open the public hearing up for the economic development by our Director Fernando Rouse.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here today to present on Project Pinpoint. We spoke about it in closed session a few months ago. This actually was announced by the Governor's Office the week of February 14th, and this is actually the location of the Syntec Precision Company that's decided to locate here in Vance County. So Syntec is a privately held company that focuses on high precision metal manufacturing. The level of investment is going to be 61 jobs over 5 years with a capital investment of 10 million in business personal property. And then the annual average salary is going to be $46,877. It's going in the old Sempress building located at 145 Technology Lane. And the following are the incentives proposed by the state. Of those incentives, the discretionary incentives are the One North Carolina Fund and the Rural Division Building Reuse Grant. Those are things that we will be asked to provide a match for. So that's what brings me here today, to satisfy the statute requirement for us to do a public hearing. And also because I would like us to provide local tax incentives of, well, maximum incentive of 134,952. And this is a 60% payback for 5 years of taxes, of new taxes created by the business personal property, along with the 5% match for the building reuse and the 33% match for the 1NC grant. Do you all have any other questions about that?
Do anyone from the public have any concerns or questions? Yeah, Commissioner.
Just to define, what is the values that Vance County citizens are putting into this project?
So the, let me just, the value that the citizens would be putting in would upfront just be the match in dollars for the building reuse and the 1NC. All the money that we would give back to them would be from new taxes. So we wouldn't be taking any money out. We just wouldn't take the full.
But if you look at it over the period of time, the amount of money that we're putting into it from a county standpoint is how much of the total investment. I'm just trying to get the two figures of the total input versus what the county has to put into it.
Okay, yeah, the total input from us would be, are you just talking about for the match?
Just the county taxpayers' money.
Yeah, so it'd be $43,333. So it'd be that $10,000 from the building reuse, and the 1NC would be what the county would have to put forward from the tax dollars, current tax dollars.
Money the state's putting into it.
And the money the state's putting in, they be giving us the 100,000, and then that let's go back here. The 200,000 from the rural building reuse grant.
About a 2-to-1 match, is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir. So it's a 3-to-1 for the building reuse, and then it's a 5% for the building reuse, and then it's a 3-to-1 match for the 1NC. Yes, sir.
Getting 3 times the amount.
3 times the value. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any more discussion?
This has the standard clawbacks of everything else.
Yes, sir.
Agreement.
Yes, sir.
What's the pleasure of the board?
And Commissioner Brummett, just to elaborate on that a little bit, not only do we have the standard clawbacks for up to 10 years to make sure they come and stay and continue to employ, but on the building reuse as well as the tax incentives, it's a perform and then you get your money. So the tax incentives are rebated based upon a percentage of the taxes that they pay. And then the building reuse will not be funded until after they fill the jobs and fulfill the terms of the grant.
That's 43,000.
That's the 10 of the 43. The 33 is the 1NC fund.
And how many said jobs gonna be employed? People gonna be?
So it'll be a total of 61 jobs over that 5 years. Yes, ma'am.
It's a pleasure when we can bring business into the community.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
We want to close the hearing.
Oh. Close the public hearing.
Make a motion that we approve it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, thank you.
Now we're gonna open the public hearing for the rezoning case number ZMA 25-001.
Good evening, all commissioners, staff. I am coming to you, bringing you a rezoning request that was previously heard by Planning Board from February 13th, 2025. And this is for a rezoning case for property located at 55201-007 is the PIN number. And it's the Macon land that's located off NC 39 Highway South. The size of it is 66.52 acres. And this is to review, the purpose of this is to review and make a recommendation regarding zoning map amendment requests. And it's originally now agriculture residential, and the applicant and owner is wishing to rezone it to residential low density. And some of the existing conditions and features of the property is sparsely developed agricultural land that includes some farm-related structures as of now. The terrain is predominantly flat, characterized by limited vegetation, and approximately 25% of the area is covered by wooded sections. And also with regards to the future land use designation is within the rural designated area of Vance County as designated on the future land use map, and is not located within the designated transitional development or neighborhood area. And also with the surrounding zoning, to the north, you have agriculture residential, which is primarily rural agriculture and sparsely spaced land use. To the south is R30 along the Epson Rocky Road with existing residential land uses. To the west, you have R30, also with existing residential land uses. And to the east, you have OI, which is office institutional, R20 and R30 zone properties. And that's also shown in your packet on the colorful map. And the proposal for this request, the applicant is requesting to change in the zoning of the property from agricultural residential to residential low density, which would permit low density residential development. Also, as stated in the application, the said property will match up with surrounding properties that are R30. The plan is to develop a residential subdivision of approximately 52 lots. The neighborhood would provide affordable housing to the area. It appears the public road, Highway 39, is already constructed to accommodate with turn lanes on either side of the road and good line of sight. And that was per the application that was submitted. Also, per section 3.2.1 of the zoning ordinance, the purpose and intent of the R30 General Use District is established primarily for protection of the county's residential growth areas from incompatible land uses. Also, the primary use in this area is residential, with some of the counties suitable for agricultural uses. And along with the general use map amendment process, so the first action is staff review and analysis. The second action, the planning board reviews the application at a regular meeting and makes a recommendation that comes before the commissioners. And that's where we are now at the third action. So from here, the Board of Commissioners received the planning board recommendation from February 13th and decides to either approve or deny the request. And in addition to that, so there are 5 policy guidelines to take into consideration while approving this request. And those guidelines are: the proposal will place all property similarly situated in the area in the same category or in appropriate complementary categories. There is convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed zone classification would be in the general public interest and not merely in the interest of an individual or small group. Third thing is there is convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed zone classification would be appropriate in the area included in the proposed change. 4, there is convincing demonstration that the character of the neighborhood would not materially or adversely be affected by any use permitted in the proposed change. And last, the proposed change in accord with the county land use plan and sound planning principles. Also, with regards to the comprehensive plan, the goals that support this request are: 1 is to encourage development at a rate in a pattern which can be efficiently and effectively served by existing and planned services and facilities. And goal 3 is to promote, encourage, and stimulate the conservation of existing housing stock, rehabilitation, or replacement of substandard housing, and the construction of new housing stock. And lastly, so the planning board, again, the planning board's recommendation for this, they approve. It was approved by unanimously to recommend approval, indicating that the planning board determined the request was consistent with the provisions of the adopted Vance County Land Use Plan and is supported by the goals and objectives of the plan. And those were including goals 1 and 3 that I just read. The area in question consists of existing residentially R30 zone parcels in the area and supports land uses both permitted by right and permitted through the issuance of a special use permit allowed in that general use zoning district. The request represents a logical extension of the current residential development activities and does not represent a deviation of what was envisioned under the adopted land use plan. And again, the planning board has determined that this request is reasonable and in the public's best interest by promoting additional and rural residential and economic development activities within the county, allowing for local expansion of existing residential development in the area, and will continue to promote a diverse economic tax base consistent with the permitted uses within the R30 zoning district. And so once, if you decide to approve this request, we ask in your motion that you find that the request is or is not consistent with the adopted land use plan and is or is not reasonable and in the public interest.
Is there any public, anyone want to come forth to, like to address this matter?
Good evening, and Ms. Fame, congratulations on becoming a new commissioner. So nice to meet you tonight. I'm Bob Kemp. I live at 678 Epsom Rocky Ford Road. And the property in question, a lot of that property backs up on my back line. What I'm concerned about is, number one, we had nothing from the planning board about the subdivision coming in. So today was really the first that I heard of it, but I thought at first we were told, gossip is that the developer was going to develop mini farms. Well, mini farms really gives you a nice subdivision, but now I find out today he's looking at 50 plus houses, I believe. Is that correct?
This is the first step, so we're not even talking about use yet. That's another process.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Well,
this is just
well,
for the rezone.
This
Yes.
is the concerns I have, is the water quality and how that's going to be affected with how many wells he ends up putting in. Because at my house, I've got some wells and I've got one that's been sitting dry. I'm waiting on the county to run water down the road so we can get water. The neighbors are all excited about that, maybe getting water. But the other thing is that I'm concerned is this Matray Estates that he's going up against. It's not well kept, non-paved roads. They shoot from dark to 12, 1 o'clock at night, which I agree with the gentleman that spoke earlier. We need a sound ordinance, like no shooting after 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, not 2 o'clock like night before last. Started at about 2 o'clock. I thought it was somebody shooting at somebody. They shot 4 times, and then all of a sudden the real shooting started. They were just unloading pistols. It's just pistol shots, so it's a real problem. But the Matray Estates is a subdivision. It's not kept up. The roads are bad. It's a trash dump down at the end of the road where they come dump it. It's just a bad scene, and we just don't. I know everybody needs a place to live, but we just don't need to end up with another Matray Estates there. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Congratulations, Ms. Fain. I want to echo what Bob said. I live at 478 Epsom Rocket Ford. I got property adjoins it also. And you hear people shooting at night there also. So But like I said, we don't need another Metro Estates right now. We're not opposed to a bigger, many farms that, like you said, we're gonna do to start with, but like 50 wells, 50 plus wells gonna be, that's a lot of wells. And that's one tell you my opinion on it.
And I'm sorry, just to reiterate, this is just for the rezoning, whether or not it's consistent with the future land use plan. So other steps would take place with the minor subdivision. They have to proceed with a major subdivision process. We have to go through, that's a whole nother process. And then we will address the lots, preliminary review and all that. And after the preliminary review, they still have to submit construction drawings as well. So this whole other process is that will cover that matter with regards to well, septic and all of that information.
But I think, Ms. Moss, there was in reference to, I think you did say something about resident. You said something, did you say something earlier? Because it caught my attention as well about.
Residential uses?
Yes.
So
it was
residential uses,
Yeah, 40, I heard something.
52 lots?
52 lots, and I
Yes.
guess they, to their defense, I had to get the clarity on what they
Right.
was talking about.
Right, so I'm not certain yet.
I
of
know
what-
this is
what the
zoning, I
50
know
yeah.
what you're here
Right.
for, but I'm to their defense of what I heard as well.
Right,
you
so with those 52 lots, they, by our zoning ordinance,
Mhm.
as a, matter by right, they can put single family dwellings out there, I believe, manufactured homes, single wides, double wides of that sort. So that is listed in the, table of permitted uses on our website under the planning department, if you'd like to look at that.
Will we have another opportunity to speak concerning this?
That's here,
That's what we're doing
that's
now?
for the rezone, yes.
So the gentleman that just spoke right before the gentleman, you can come up. You can come up. We just need your name. The gentleman that spoke right before him. We need your name. Yes, sir. Jonathan Wren. Okay, thank you.
Evening, everybody. My name is Michael Cotter. I live at 7770 NC Highway 39 South. I live for the last 20 years in the Macon House, exactly adjacent to that property. I am just south on the exact borderline. I'm very, very concerned. I've lived there for 20 years. My wife passed away. I'm there by myself. The shooting is crazy. Coming from Sombrero Lane, it's crazy. It's automatic weapons being fired over there. I don't want them right next to me. I'm very concerned about this. I don't know if we'll have another opportunity to express the impact this would have on my life and my property. But excuse my ignorance is what I'm saying. Will we have another opportunity to speak into this? 52 lots, mobile homes coming in. If you consider 4 people in each mobile home, that's over 200 people living right beside me and behind me. I am extremely concerned. This could be devastating for our farming community. Please, this would be ugly. This would be very ugly. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Any discussion from the board? Oh, you got somebody else, okay.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Darren Broadbeck, 2921 Sunnystone Way in Raleigh. And I'm actually one of the developers, so I figured I should probably speak somewhat. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And I can say, I understand everybody's concern, adjacent landowners and such. I will say the last thing that we want to create is another Metro Estates, because it is not nice. It's not well kept. One thing that we were very adamant about, if, we can get the rezoning, site plan approval and through the process, is to put together protective covenants, restrictive covenants, ultimately. And for what that's worth, as enforceable as it can be, there wouldn't be gun shooting, junk in yards, the kind of stuff that you see at Metro Estates, which I, completely understand. I've seen it. It's ugly. So that's the last thing that we would want to, allow to happen here. It's affordable housing. I understand it's, it's old land and if you're living right next to it, It could be a bit of a nuisance to some extent. But I could say, you know, if it was even lower density, it could be even more loud and even more intrusive. So I guess those are my thoughts, and I at least wanted to share, you know, from our perspective. And if anybody has any questions, like I said, I'd be happy to do my best to answer them.
I have a question.
Sure, ma'am.
I know, we're here for zoning tonight, but I just, out of curiosity, are we talking, gentleman mentioned mobile homes. Are we talking about stick-built homes or are we talking about mobile homes?
That's a good question. We wouldn't allow single wide mobile homes, but double wide, modular, and single family is what we would, probably minimum of 14 to 1,500 square feet. But for them to be affordable, of course, you know,
Are you all contemplating selling lots or are you gonna participate in the actual, erection of the structures?
it would be lot sales to the general public. It may be, I mean, honestly, it could be a full-on development to where, you know, builders brought in to handle the entire thing. But, you know, the preference would be that individuals could buy the lots, bring in their own builder.
So you will not be developing it in terms of housing. You would just be selling the lots.
The lots, right? We're not a builder.
So to ease these people's conscience and everything, you couldn't lay out as to what's going to happen there. It's going to be left up to the land, to the person purchasing the land.
Well, we can put restrictive covenants on the properties before any of the lots are sold.
This question I want to ask you also, based on what the people have stated in terms of what's out there next to it, why would you want to develop a development with that kind of nuisance that they are experiencing?
I can see that can be a challenge. I think the opportunity is there to create the housing. There's a new house that was put into Metro Estates recently, and I don't know if it ever sold. I haven't checked on it recently, but I believe it was listed for $400,000. Now, this price point wouldn't be, I don't think it would get anywhere near that, but, and I believe the rest of that subdivision, God willing, will end up being a little bit better because I know it's been purchased. So only about half of that Metro Estates has been developed so far-ish. Don't quote me on that, but I think the back part of it has been purchased, and I don't know if y'all have heard from them, the new owners or not, but hopefully that'll be a little cleaner. I don't know if that's possible or not, but.
Have you written your restricted covenants yet?
No, but I mean, we have copies that we've used in the past that we could.
You haven't written any restricted covenants for this property yet, have you?
Not yet. No, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So are there any more?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, I'm Laura Parkinson. I live at 1560 Tolly Weldon Road. I didn't plan to speak tonight because I didn't realize that this property was being discussed. I actually was an original homeowner in Metro Estates. I moved away from there. I moved back and lived in Metro Estates, and I do own a rental property in Metro Estates. I just want to remind everyone kind of how that all went. We got the same promises from the developers that there would be covenants put in place. We'd have paved roads. We'd have street lights. It would be maintained. Everyone there was homeowners. Everyone would take pride in their properties. And majority of that now is rental properties. The road is terrible. The crime is horrible. I had someone overdose and coming from the drug house in the bottom and run into our house right where my son was sitting. So it's not maintained because it's not state property, it's not county property, it's individually owned. So there's really no kind of oversight or overseer on that. No one regulates that. So I just want to, just remind you all that those type of things do not go well in the county. Now, if you all want to come and develop in the city, we would love to see that. We need housing in the city. Now, I'm not saying we don't need housing across the county either, because we do, but I don't think this type of saturated housing is what the county needs, and most people move to the county to enjoy the peace and quiet. Okay, so I just want everybody to just keep that in mind when we're voting on this. Thank you.
I'm Angie Ryan. I live at 327 Franklin Road. I don't live anywhere near this property, but I know without a shadow of my doubt that we don't have any more room in the jail for the convicted and waiting for people that are going to be going to the jail because of opening up another trailer park. We don't want it. We don't want it at all. This is adding fuel to a fire that these guys have already, they brought up. I realize they're just good old homeboys. We all are. This is our county, y'all. Don't do this. We don't have room for it. If they want to develop something like this from Raleigh, take it to Raleigh. We don't want it in Vance County. We don't want it. We do not. You cannot put lipstick on a pig.
Any more discussion?
Can this be tabled
This one, I'm gonna close it out.
and we discuss it?
Mhm.
Because there's great concern.
Yeah.
I have concerns. That area is some of the best agricultural property we have in the county. And to erode that, to me, creates an economic situation that can erode business income and so forth from the county. And that's something we need to do some consideration on. I support tabling it so that we can have more conversation.
Take their concerns into consideration.
Is this subdivision within Christina's district?
Sharice?
Yes. I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole until she had an opportunity to spend some time, so I'm all for considering, continuing it.
So I'm gonna close it.
We can, table it. We need a motion to table.
Do we need a motion to table?
Motion to a
I make a motion to table.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay,
Table.
so you okay?
We'll send it, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and we're gonna table, and we're gonna send it to the, planning, the property committee. The planning, planning committee. All right, thank you. So next on our agenda is, Kia Macon, property extension, revision of the farming market vendor guidelines.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here to speak to you on behalf of the farmers market today. But before I jump in, I did put a nice little booklet in front of you. This is our report to the people. NC State encourages us to give you an annual report of all the things that we do. So if you open up to the middle, that's where all the numbers are. And then there are a lot of stories in between. But also in the middle, you will find this lovely paper, which may support some of the things that you were just talking about. But the Vance County Harvest Highlights, and a couple of things that I wanted to bring to your attention. All the red arrows that are pointing down are not good. And some of the things that I really wanted to point out is that we're losing a lot of farm and a lot of farmland. And so I do hope that you all take that into consideration, because that is something that we have to focus on both as cooperative extension, but also as the county.
I'm sorry, I can't hear, and I apologize.
Okay.
So much noise in the background.
You want me to repeat that last part there? Okay, great. All right.
Thank you.
So again, this is the report to the people. Have a look at it, please. Take some time to look at it. On that inside part, I did put in this harvest highlight, which is a summary from the USDA 2022 census, agriculture census, and it does tell you what's happening in Vance County related to agriculture. So I wanted to highlight that we are losing farms as well as farmlands. You'll see that 29% of our farms have been reduced since 2017, and then 42% of our farm acres have been reduced since 2017. All right. In addition to that, you will also find some information about a community garden that we are opening at the farmers market pretty soon, and we're looking for your help with that. Back to the farmers market. On page 24 of the report to the people, you will find some information about the farmers market as well as our information about our farmers market vendors. And I want to really highlight that our farmers market building has been around since 2014 and it has not been utilized in the ways that it should. And so I do have a plan to revitalize that area, and I will be expressing that to you all soon. And I'm looking forward to your support there. But in the meantime, you can support us just by increasing awareness and engagement. So on that back page is our farmers market flyer. We do open up again on May 3rd. And we will be doing a health and wellness event on May 2nd from 4 to 8 p.m. So please promote that. We do accept EBT at the farmers market. Please tell people that. We have been very fortunate to get funding from Triangle North Healthcare Foundation to do Double Bucks program, which matches the EBT and senior vouchers that we have in the community. So please let people know about that as well. But all of this is really to support our community, to provide them with healthy access to food, as well as a place to come and support our local farmers and our local economy. So going back to the document that is in front of you, the biggest one to talk about today is our farmers market vendor guideline. We did have our farmers market vendor meeting last month, and they are ready to get started. But we cannot fully get started with them until we approve the guidelines. One thing that we've been discussing between county extension staff, the farmers market staff, and the farmers market advisory board is how do we engage vendors again? We have not had a great turnout when it comes to vendors, so we are interested in lowering the annual cost from $30 to $20 application fee, and then reducing the daily setup fee. And so we're looking for your approval on that.
Just a question. You say, thing says there's no daily setup fee.
Yes, so that's what we would like to change right now. It's a $10 fee, and honestly, sometimes our vendors don't even take home that much, and so we would like to reduce that fee.
How do we keep the lights on?
How do you keep, we're not keeping the lights on by collecting $10 from 7 vendors right now.
There needs to be some effort there, in my opinion, anyway.
So,
Can I,
go ahead.
a couple of things I want to add. First of all, that farmer's market is one of the nicest in any county or surrounding this area, and it does a great job. But I also know that that in Franklin County, how much do they charge the vendors in Franklin County?
They do not charge their vendors.
I'm seeing vendors that are not coming to this market because of the fact that because they're getting charged, and vendors in Franklin County are not getting charged anything. How about setup fees? Do they charge in Franklin County for setup?
They do not charge setup fees.
Well, I don't want us to penalize people when they can come here for the same. And the other thing that really I want to say is that farmer's market was built totally 100% with tobacco money, not with any county money. And then the state came in and paid the parking lot out there, so that was paid. So, you know, we need to look out for our farmers and look at them all the way around. And I think we need to look at the idea of, if you're thinking of lowering it to $20, I think we ought to do away with it. And let the vendors come in there as far as that's concerned and see how it does. Because what's the average amount of vendors you have on a Saturday now?
Depends on the time of the year. We have more during the summer than we do in the off seasons, but not a lot. And it's the chicken egg situation at this moment. Again, I'm asking everyone to help me bring in people, because part of why we don't have a lot of vendors is we don't have a lot of foot traffic. But also sometimes the vendors don't even make enough to cover their daily fee.
Have you thought about the hours? Because you got from 8 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time on Saturdays, it's just my opinion. By the time people get started,
Sure.
you know, we want to sleep in a little late because we don't work 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so to get started, by the time maybe 11, 12 before people can get in, when they realize that 1 o'clock is closed.
These are traditional farmers market
So,
hours.
okay.
But what I will do is welcome you all to our Farmers Market Advisory Board meeting. It's open to the public, and this is the time when we do discuss things like this. We haven't opened for the year. So right now, we're discussing the goals for the year as well as we could discuss hours. So the next one is next Tuesday at 2 p.m.
And so do Franklin charge application fee? You said they don't charge vendors.
They do not charge vendors. I'll check on the application fee, but I'm pretty sure they don't charge an application fee.
Franklinton charges vendors $10. Franklinton charges vendors $10.
Anymore.
I just.
Check.
Pat
just talked with
Askew
the
is
individual that
the,
Does it today.
Well, the lady that told me she didn't charge.
Well, I was told today it was $10 there.
Pat told me they didn't
But
charge.
Franklinton, not in Franklin County, but the one in Franklinton.
Well, that's the biggest one, isn't it?
How many they got?
some counties do have multiple markets.
They got
I
multiple.
know of.
So we
That
should-
runs one down there and runs one here.
On a given Saturday, how many vendors do you have?
It really depends on the day. Sometimes we have as few as 7. If we have a special event, which you can find on the back, we may have up to 30. It just depends on the day.
So do you actually think taking away the $10 fee is gonna bring more? Because like you said, they're not charging in some areas. So you think $10 would bring more vendors in?
I think we need to try something different.
Different?
Yes.
To see.
I think we could always change it back, but if be willing, I would be willing to try it for at least a year.
Would it be an issue to take away the application fee, as Commissioner Hester said? Would that be, I'm just trying to, get some,
I don't think it's an issue to take away the application fee, but I do like a little skin in the game.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's only $20. You're going from $30 to 20, right?
Mhm. And then
Okay.
eliminating the daily
Daily
fee.
rate, okay.
I have a question to ask out of curiosity. A lot of people don't know, but the farmers market building is actually rented out people can rent it out for special events.
Yes.
And that income that's generated from those events, does that go to help defray the cost of the light bill, water bill, or whatever, or is that a different account?
Would you like to speak on that? Or Stephanie, would you like to speak on that? It just goes into a revenue account. She said it goes towards revenue and then it goes towards utility and other line items.
You said you're gonna meet next Tuesday at what time?
Goes back to there.
Oh, Tuesday is our Farmers Market Advisory Board meeting at 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
Mhm.
And who's up? Well,
All of you, I welcome everyone.
I just wonder in terms of when you meet with them to get an idea as to where they're coming from and what they're recommending, because you base it off what you're going to do based on the advisory committee, right?
Yes. So we talked about it between the Vance County Cooperative Extension staff and the Farmers Market Manager, and then we presented it to the advisory board. And then they asked me to present it to you all.
Renee, has their budget been changed since 2014?
So I can't answer that question because I would need the data in front of me to answer that question. But we were actually having budget meetings earlier today. And so there were some small increases to her budget in fiscal year 26. But if I think about historically and from what I've seen, no, that budget has not been increased.
I think it's been
Yeah,
changed since
I
2000.
would agree with that.
And the other side of the coin about that is we're trying to get her to help get more vendors there. One of the things you can do is you can do some kind of way of doing a little bit of advertising so we can have more vendors at that market.
Yeah, we talked about that today too.
How many vendors do you normally have down in Franklin County?
Oh, I can't answer that question. I'm not sure.
We ought to ask her, find out about it,
Okay.
as far as that's concerned, but I don't think we've ever done any advertising. Ever.
So how do you all market?
Right now, we do advertise a bit between WIZS, so the radio station, as well as Daily Dispatch. We did get funding from Farm Bureau to do a new sign, but that's kind of tucked away, which makes it very difficult for some people to see. But outside of that, our marketing budget is very small, so can't do much else.
So that
Oh, well,
so
it is at 210 South Park Drive. Everyone?
it's tucked away.
Yeah, it is tucked away. It is tucked away.
Yeah,
Is there enough trees there that obscure the view? Could we do advertising for 85?
they own all the way to 85, but but the trees,
The tree's too thick now.
yeah, and you're not gonna get any, you can't do anything about that, but the point is, Dan, Vance County is so small, and if you only look at the farmers from Vance County, you're not gonna get as much as you need to like Franklin County, but you need to do some advertising. You're shaking, you know what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
You know exactly what I'm trying to
Sir.
say, and if you don't go back and doing some advertising outside of Vance County to increase the amount of vendors there, you're not solving your problem, and we got the nicest farmers market in any surrounding county.
I agree. But again, I think advertising is just one part of it. It's really going to take a collective and concerted effort, which I would love to talk to you all more about later on. But for now, what I'm trying to do is see if we can get this approved so we can move forward with our vendors.
Would you tell them about, look, she's been out for our club in Rotary and she's talking about the farmers market. So that's one thing that she talked about the Rotary Club, but would you tell them about what you're doing in the rear? About so the county commissioners would know and then put it in the paper as far as the multi-10 spot farm?
Yeah, so the community garden that we will be opening this spring, we're looking for volunteers. So everyone has a volunteer paper right there. I'm always recruiting. But yes, those beds will be available to the public. So an individual, let's say a community center, a church, a business, anyone can rent there. Cooperative Extension is there to teach you all how to grow. And again, we're trying to bring more people out. I would love to see a walking trail out there in that land. There are a lot of things that we can do out there, but first we need to fight the kudzu.
I think we're currently creating an apiary out there also, correct?
There's also an apiary. We have bee school every other weekend. Yes.
Get some goats, they'll get rid of it.
Exactly. We do need funds for that as well.
So what are you looking for us for approval?
The revision is.
Approve the reduced fees. Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
I have a motion and
I'm gonna come to your meeting on Tuesday, okay?
Wonderful.
Ryan, call me and remind me, okay?
We
Okay.
have a commissioner appointment coming up in appointments tonight for that.
I don't say I was gonna come, I don't.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Great. All right. Yay. One more thing before I go. So in addition to the report to the people, we're doing a program. You'll see the very back page. That newspaper is a real newspaper. 65 years ago, that building was open for Cooperative Extension. And so we want to celebrate that building, and we are asking you all to come out and celebrate with us on June 26th. This is open to the public, by the way. June 26th, we'll be doing the evolution of extension. And so we'll be highlighting the past of extension, hearing stories from people who have participated in extension in a variety of ways. Anyone in this building is welcome to share their story. We'll be recording them and presenting them, but it'll be a big celebration that day. All right, thank you.
Marquine, I want to ask, I know Warren County, friend of mine in terms of the community garden whereby they did at a church, and it was a fantastic, it went extremely well. There's a lot going out of Warrenton, like 49, and they had beautiful, bays or bins where they had community gardens and everything. And it was really nice.
We're gonna have something like that at the farmer's market pretty soon.
Just one thing, if I can, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just coming off with the agricultural part here, we've got a nice agricultural tourism event this Sunday. I think there's a rodeo out on Big Spur Road. It's the first time they're trying it. And so that's something that if people are interested in.
You know the time?
It starts at 12. And so I just got the brochure a few minutes ago. I'll get that to Kelly, and if she wants to put it on the website, we can do that. That's an excellent opportunity to start bringing in some tourism for that type of event. And this will be
great. Thank you.
Our race and those kind of things. So local kids participating.
Madam Chairman, can I go back and ask, when we talked about what the folks came from that development, we said table it, are we tabling it to discussion with the committee or where?
It's back in the planning committee.
Back to the planning committee, okay.
I'm gonna table for that purpose. We'll open the water board. Phase 1B capital project ordinance. Rankin.
Before you tonight, you'll have a capital project ordinance. It's for the partial finance of the project through state grant administrated by the NCDEQ for the amount of $3,940,000. This has been done on our prior phases of water system. The staff recommendations is approve the capital project ordinance before you tonight.
If you want that approved.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Second.
Have a motion and second, any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it. Now the money operation report. What was all on it? Any discussion? None, okay. Now we're gonna have our finance director reports. Oh, sorry, close the ward board. Now we're gonna have our finance director report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The following two recommendations are from the audit committee. Number one, conduct an RFP process for annual audit services. The finance department will submit an RFP inviting qualified independent auditors to submit bids in order to perform the single audit as well as prepare the financial statements and compliance reports by November 25th, 2025 for the fiscal year ending June 2026. Starting the RFP process in November will allow sufficient times for firms to respond to RFP, review and selection by the governing board, and approval of contract by local government commission, and time to get on the audit schedule of the selected audit firm.
So Stephanie, I just want to make a comment. Commissioner Feimster, when we met on Friday, there's a request for us to see if we can change the auditor from TPSA, but don't necessarily use like Hunter. See if we can request a different auditor for fiscal year 25. Since we're not going to do our RFP until the end of this year, just request a different auditor for our next audit, just to switch up the audit.
Okay.
The recommendation of the audit committee
Mhm.
was to have an RFP this year.
Correct, but I think at this point, it's too late for us to do an RFP and select an auditor for an audit that's going to be starting right after July 1st. I'm just thinking about time constraints
So
from
we
staff.
would engage them and we would open the RFP in April. They would do their preliminary work. I think what they said is generally in June, they do closeouts. And so that would be time for them to engage.
I'm just thinking about from a staff's perspective and all the other projects that we have right now. But if the board wants us to pursue that, we can do that. But the recommendation from staff is for fiscal year 26.
I guess what I'm looking at is we've had this audit firm for 9 years.
2016, correct?
It's standard practice in the audit world that after 3 years, you resubmit to prevent having familiarity. We experienced that issue with our previous situation. And so to me, it's important that we go ahead and make the change as soon as possible. It's my understanding there are 49 firms that do audit, like municipal and county audits.
Well, I'm not aware of that because it was my understanding that the firms have been reduced significantly over the past several years. So, I mean, but if this board wants us to go ahead and do it for fiscal year 25, we don't have a problem with that. We can move forward.
I just think we've got a lot of issues that are not resolved yet, that from previous stuff. And I think to advertise and see if we can get a clean start would be something that was very important. And
When did the actual report start? When did it actually start working on the audit? You said November?
So normally, they start engaging August. When did they come last year?
It came in
August,
August and then September.
August and September.
So you saying you think it's too late?
I do. I feel like it's because staff has a lot of things going on right now so for us to add that on our plate, in addition to everything that's going on with the detention center and all the other projects, that's just one more added thing on staff. But like I said, if staff wants us to, if the board wants us to move forward, we'll definitely do so.
What you're trying to say is you need a little bit of break. There's so much happening right now and take a little time so you can.
Absolutely. And I just don't want us to be pressed up against time and getting the contract signed with LGC and things of that nature. So.
And with everything going on.
Absolutely.
So you're saying, look at starting in next year or what?
Fiscal year 26. Fiscal year 26.
Fiscal year 26?
Yes, sir.
So we can plan ahead.
With the change of asking for a new auditor, somebody else to do, not the same person.
Correct.
Maybe that would-
New lead. He's the lead, so ask for a new lead.
New lead.
Yeah, Hunter is the lead person, but we can ask TPSA to assign another auditor.
So some fresh eyes.
When does our current term end with them? 'Cause I think they gave us 3 years,
No.
It's 1 year, every
Yeah, just
contract.
1 year.
and when you go out for the RFP, are you going to ask for a 3-year commitment, or are you going to do it just on a single annual year?
We can do between 3 to 5. Typically, a lot of businesses will keep the auditors 3 to 5 years and then go out for RFP between 3 to 5 years.
And I don't disagree that we do need to do an RFP. My concern is just time constraints right now.
I'm looking at the risk that our county has right now based on previous history with this firm. And I'm looking from a fiscal standpoint, what we need to do. The fact that we are aware that this familiarity clause has been breached in the past.
Renee, I'm so happy with the job that you're doing and you just got here and trying to get yourself situated and the whole works. And I want to do what I think is to work with you any way we possibly can to give you the time that you need to make sure we're moving in the right direction. And with everything that has happened in the past, I think that you want to be more cautious, and which I agree with as far as that's concerned, as far as this county is concerned too in the future. So my personal opinion is I want to do what you think is best.
Based on what he said, I'm trying to figure out, you said the time constraints are against you right now in terms of doing that. So my concern would be that from now, we'd be looking at doing what for 26 in terms of getting.
Yes.
That starts as a win.
So we would, fiscal year 26 ends on June 30 of 2026. So we would do it in November or December of this year so that we're able to have enough time to be able to get contract and get things approved by the LGC and things of that
We
nature.
would go looking for RFP after July 1.
Yes, sir. We would have TPSA for 1 more year and then do an RFP. But who's to say TPSA may be the only one that responds to the RFQ. But yes, it would give us the opportunity to have a little bit more time.
So anything that we would do between now and June 30 wouldn't make any difference, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But we have time in that period of time to do an RFP and get a contract done.
But she said it puts too much pressure on them, right?
Yes, it's a time constraint thing. And I'm not saying, we're not trying to get out of work. We would never do that. So I'm just concerned with time constraints, especially with it being budget right now. We're in the middle of budget, so.
And I think they are aware of the situation that we have and the concerns that we do have.
Oh,
That
yeah.
they will be looking more,
I would agree with that.
tentative
I would agree with that.
for a year.
1 more
And
year.
plus the line, and the things that you all have in place.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
also making sure.
Absolutely.
that
And
you
I think that was the
more
concern,
eyes on-
internal controls. So I can't blame it on our auditors. It was the things that were happening here internally.
Where do we move from here? What do you need?
And I guess we need, the, action taken on to motion to,
Motion to approve moving forward with what orders we have now. Is that what you want?
Yes, for this year, that be correct? Well, or to do RFP for fiscal year
Motion to
2026.
send out an RFP for fiscal.
Fiscal year 20, ending fiscal 2026.
I'll make that
We're
motion.
going to send out RFP starting when?
We'll send the RFP out in November of this year, but it'll be for fiscal year ending 2026. Because right now we're in 2025. And so TPSA will do our audit 1 more year.
with a new lead.
Correct.
Yes.
We request a new lead auditor. Correct.
Are we requesting a new review partner?
We can.
We of course new review problem, then I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Okay, the second recommendation coming from the audit committee was have a forensic audit conducted for the period of July 2021 through December 21.
January 2021.
I'm sorry, January 2021 through December 2021. So below is a chart of a few things outlining the advantages and disadvantages of a financial forensic audit. So some of the advantages will be to help identify financial fraud. Findings can be used in legal proceedings such as court cases. It reveals hidden financial issues and promotes transparency. Identifies errors or weakness in controls. Helps to track stolen assets, and authorities may seize assets that were illegally acquired. Identifies weaknesses in internal controls, and leads to better understanding and optimization of financial processes and control. Some of the disadvantages would be it can be a costly process. So forensic audits are often expensive due to the specialized nature of the investigation. The audit process can be lengthy, especially in any complex cases. And then the process needs trained professionals, which can limit access to some organizations. So for the following reasons I'm about to read, the finance department does not support conducting a forensic audit, although it's the board's decision, but I will relate some of the reasons why we do not support that. So a forensic audit will essentially do the same work that was done by retired finance director Chuck Murray, who had over 30+ years in county and budget finance. An extensive FBI investigation ensued to track down assets. We have already achieved the advantages of having a forensic audit completed. There is no additional return on this investment. We have received the $1 million bond payment from the insurance company, and the hourly rate can range from $300 to $500 an hour. So those are some of the reasons why the finance does not support, but of course, it's the board's decision to move forward.
And I just want to add additionally for the provides legal evidence at this point, any further legal attempts to try to reclaim anything else, we have everything that we need. The FBI found that has that, as well as the wires are clear. A lot of times in these scenarios that a forensic audit would turn up additional evidence for legal proceedings would be a much more complicated way of subverting funds out of our operating accounts. This was very blatant and very clear. Once you knew what to look for, it was found. And so that's just one other reason that I would add. I do not believe we need this for any other legal cases.
Are we still under gag order from the FBI? Am I still under gag order from the FBI? I've not received any information contrary to that.
I'm not sure what you mean by a gag order.
We were told not to speak about the case from the FBI when we had our initial meeting.
Okay.
Was that a county meeting?
It was a meeting which, that was when I was chair.
All the county commissioners?
No, it was a chair.
Was the county attorney present?
Yes, I was at that meeting.
So is an investigation?
The investigation is over. The investigation is over.
All right.
So the $300 to $500 an hour, would that be a time frame? Do they have a time frame? I'm just, since it's that's a lot of money.
We were doing RFQ. Yeah. All right, first off, let's just, the bullet points you just talked about. Said that a forensic audit would basically do the same work that Chuck Murray did.
Yes.
A forensic audit goes into the computer systems and those kind of things. It looks at keystrokes. Chuck did none of that.
He did not look at he went back and looked to see, he traced it from the bank, because what was missing is the money that was in the bank. So he went back and traced all of those with the journal entries. And then in that journal entry, you can go in and see who did that, because there is everybody that has a login has a footprint. So he was able to see exactly who did it based upon the access.
For the transactions. but he wasn't able to see the manipulation of the line accounts within our system.
So
The monies, how the monies got moved and how how that all occurred.
so
We
those
still don't know that.
So those were a journal entry that was done. So the wires went out, and in order to, I guess I could say, in order to cover the wire when the bank reconciliation was done, so the cash equals the journal entry, a bank journal entry was done. So that the cash matches on the journal entry match what was at the bank. So in looking at the journal entry, you can see exactly who had access to do that and who did that journal entry. And some of the things that were done, they were done like towards the end of one fiscal year, and some items were moved back to the prior fiscal year. So he's able to look at that in a keystroke and know not necessarily a keystroke, but able to go back and look at the access and see exactly who created their journal entries. So that was determined.
Okay. Again, we've not looked at keystroke. We still have the question where our money owed from the water department to the general fund. How did that transact? How did that money disappear? How did that $1.8 million disappear? And then how did it reappear? We don't know that right now because we have not found out how that worked. Now, we did an accounting that came back and said that this is the money we loaned, the county loaned the water thing, and we have that money, but we don't know how that money disappeared. We don't know how it came back, what journal entry is required to do that. So not having done the forensic audit, that forensic audit can give us some leads into that and also help prevent that in the future. And that's why I'm consistent on that. The second thing, when we met initially with the FBI, I asked them about a forensic audit, and they said they did not do forensic audit. They simply looked at the evidence and proceeded from there. So the FBI did not do any type of forensic investigation based on what they told us in that initial meeting. And so I feel it's still prudent that we do an audit to, first off, to make sure that we don't have any more holes in the system that would do things, that allow that to happen in the future. This is the third time it's happened since I've been on the board. And so I support still doing it. The other thing is that this was a recommendation, a unanimous recommendation from the audit committee. The audit committee has a CPA, a practicing CPA. It has a person, an individual who's been doing taxes for 20-some years. And Colonel Taylor was on it, and then I was on it. I have a little bit of internal audit experience of my own, but that was a unanimous recommendation from the audit committee.
New audit committee or the old one?
It's the one now that you.
I was
came
on
up
the
with.
one when we saw this. It was not unanimous.
It was when we
Not
had.
on the forensic audit, it was not.
When,
I'm saying no, and I was on it.
okay, we voted at the last meeting to do that. You would come off the.
Well, I resigned then, but it was not unanimous as far as when I was on it. The forensic audit, let me ask you this, Jonathan, since you're the county attorney. What is the reasoning now to go back and do an additional audit beyond what we normally do per year for a forensic audit? Why do you do one?
You do one if you're looking for something. So the regular audits that they perform every year, as we unfortunately have found out, they are not there and they are not going to find the theft that we have experienced over the years. Neither one of our audits is the one that ever found that money. The only time they find it is if they happen to audit the account that the money was taken from and the false entries were entered into. And unfortunately, it's just never worked out that way in our audits. In a forensic audit, you're looking at specific things to find out and provide you with a lot of other information. And for a situation like this, you're looking to find out exactly how the money was stolen, how much money was stolen, and the process that it went through. My recommendation is if the concern is to find existing holes, it's not going to be through a forensic audit. It's going to be through hiring an advisor who comes in and tests our system to make sure we have put in place all of the proper controls. If that's what you're going for, that would be my recommendation, is that we get the advisors, the advisors on financial protocols and processes to come in and audit our system and tell us ways to better improvement.
But
to
not a
better
forensic
improve.
audit.
No, sir.
That's what I think the problem is the interpretation of what a forensic audit is. And I'm agreeing with what you're saying is a forensic audit is not gonna solve what we need.
Have all the losses been accounted for? Everything that was taken, have it been accounted for?
Everything that we have found, everything that Chuck found when he went back through and audited the systems. And in addition to that, in talking with the FBI, when there was a full admission and a confession, there was nothing new revealed. It matched up with what we had already found.
So do we have things in place that would, from going forward, because I heard Commissioner said this is the third time we done been here, you know. So can we be assured going forward?
So my comment is there have definitely been new processes, procedures, and safeguards put in place. But this board was told that 10, 15 years ago when we experienced this last time. And unfortunately, that had been allowed to be relaxed and was not enforced in a way to prevent this, because this was very simple. This was as simple as allowing our treasury to be set up. And by that, that's what you deal with your bank account with BB&T, so that only one person had to approve wires. I mean, that's fundamental. That's simple. No one knew that had been authorized or been permitted until it was too late when we found out. But the benefit from having an outside person come in is you will receive these recommendations. Each of you will have these recommendations. Your successors will have these recommendations and can always refer back to them, so that in another 10 years, any new commissioner can get these, can look at them, and come back and check with county management to say, show me we require double signatures. Show me we require all of these additional safeguards that were recommended to be put in place, but also found to be put in place, and to make sure that this doesn't happen again by management allowing this to happen.
Do we have we investigated the two other corporations that were set up at her address? See if there were any transactions related to that?
The FBI has, yes, sir. But they told us there was nothing worth pursuing there.
Based on what I'm hearing, Jonathan, what you recommend and everything, the way to go after it and what Dan's trying to get, that we would get at anything that we need to know, right?
If the goal, again, if the goal is to make sure and to test our systems and to make sure we have the correct safety requirements put in place, the correct checks and balances put into place, then yes, sir, I would recommend it would not be a forensic audit as much as it would be an audit of our financial system.
And then anything we think there may be any inaccuracy, we would find out, right? Based on what we need to know.
I'm not going to say inaccuracies. I would say weaknesses or areas that a theft could be performed. I mean, let's face it. Over the years, I have seen employees and people who want to steal are very good at finding the weak spots. And I will never sit here in front of you and say, we've got all of them wrapped up 100%. But the goal of those with a lot of experience in reviewing larger organizations' policies, they can find them and they bring in a wealth of experience that we don't always have. And that would be an area, and I can tell you a lot of time has been put in at researching through the local government folks, a lot of the LGC recommendations and referrals that they have available and information. A lot of time, the staff has put time into developing these. But if this board, and I can understand and think it would be prudent, look at having some level of audit and recommendation of our financial policies. And if that's your goal and what you're looking to make sure we have in place, then I would suggest we ask Ms. Williams to go out, find some of those types of services, bring them back, and provide you with that information so that you can make a better recommendation as to what exactly you're looking for.
State, I make that motion.
So I just want to quickly say that at one of the audit committee meetings, TPSA, who's our current auditor, actually recommended for someone to take a look at our system, and they gave us a contact person with the association. And we reached out to that person to do the very thing that Jonathan is speaking of right now. So I just want to make sure I make that clear that we've had that conversation with the association.
Did they give us a report or they're doing it?
So I'm waiting on contact from the contact person. Yeah.
What kind of costs we looking at?
I'm not sure yet.
We have to put that in a motion or just give you this to go ahead to do that, look for that, or do it have to be taken in a?
Do they have that?
You got a motion?
Made a motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it.
Okay, thank you.
Do what you need to do now.
Now we're gonna have our county manager's report.
So the EMS substation is going to be in closed session. Yeah, so we're gonna move that. So the first thing on my report is your board goals for fiscal year 25-26. So at your retreat on January 31st of 2025, these are the goals that you all want to prioritize for fiscal year 25-26. And of course, I won't read them out, but we're just looking for a motion to approve the goals as stated above for fiscal year 25-26.
Motion,
I'm not,
put it in a motion.
Is that
To
the
approve the
motion?
goods. We need a motion?
To move forward with EMS.
No, with the goals.
For your commissioner's goals for
Yeah, but
25,
it's gotta be in
26.
closed session.
EMS is gonna be in closed session.
Mr.
Make a
Priest,
motion to move ahead with the goals.
Second.
have a motion and a second in the discussion. All in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it.
So the next thing on my list is the Head Start facility. So in 2022, when the board decided to move forward with renovations of the OE and Johnson School in order to allow Head Start or Franklin Vance Warrant to rent that facility, the estimated cost at the time was around $275,000, but we found that there was a $50,000 reduction in that cost in order to remove the doors in the facility. But it's my understanding that those doors were required per building code. And so I'm going to ask Bob Rosh to come up just to explain why we are where we are. And everyone has the lease agreement in front of you as well, just to, and you can look at the asterisk marks on that lease agreement that says that the county was responsible for the project and making sure that we were in compliance with building code.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It seems like I ever get to bring you any good news when I come up here. But I'm gonna give you a timeline of what I have found out since this project began and kind of bring you up to speed. You can ask me any questions if you wish. But it looks like that a permit was submitted to the building department on April 13th of 2022 for the upfit and remodel for the Head Start program. And the permit was issued on May 20th, and work began by HG Reynolds shortly after that. In an email that I've obtained from the architect, Oakley Collier, sometime in June, around June 8th, a decision was made to save money at the request of the Head Start folks who were paying for this renovation, is my understanding, that they find a way to cut the price down for this renovation. And it was decided by several people that 7 egress doors in these child classrooms could be removed from the engineered drawings that were originally submitted for this plan. And on June 8th, HG Reynolds submitted documentation for a return of $50,285 that was not going to be spent regarding this removal of these doors and egress ways. The permit continued on, and we found out through our records that what I can find is that only 3 inspections were documented in the inspection system before I got here. There was an inspection on July 16th for a plumbing inspection by one of the inspectors here. July 19th, another plumbing inspection by one of the inspectors, and a final occupancy on August 23rd, which was issued by the former director of inspections at the time. Those are the only 3 documented inspections that I can find in any records that we have currently, which, as some of these gentlemen know, that is not even close to what should have been in this file. The final occupancy was given and a CO was issued at that time, and it is unsigned from the document I can find in the file. So it was issued on the 23rd, but I cannot find one that is signed by anyone. There were no other inspection records located on this project.
Did we have a situation where some records were misplaced or destroyed?
My understanding is that there were records at some point on certain things removed or taken, but I did find the file, and I do have the file, in front of me. That file contains one document and a receipt for a check. That is all that we have for that permit.
Mr. Berman, what you're asking about, planning, the planning side was what was deleted. Far as the inspection side, that's all kept in the computer. So if he had done any inspections, they would have been put in the computer and he'd have had a record of it.
So 3 years.
All that was deleted was on the planning side.
If they were put in the computer.
If they were.
So 3 years, 3 years they've been there, right? 3 years? 3 years they've been, them past the code and all this process, and all of a sudden, here we in 3 years later, somebody finds.
Well, and that's what I'm gonna explain to you also. So shortly after the building was CO'd by the prior folks here, a daycare fire safety inspection was conducted at that time by the prior director, who at the time, the building department was doing these daycare inspections. On August 25th of 22, he passed the building and a fire inspection in the condition that it was with these deficiencies. Then on July 14th, the following year, the building department, another inspector went out there, conducted the yearly daycare inspection, and passed it with the same deficiency. When I got here in June, July, I changed that policy that the building department, even though we hold fire certificates, no longer do daycare inspections either for the city or for Vance County, that we let the professionals do their daycare inspections. So the city of Henderson does any daycare or licensed daycare inspections, and Vance County, the fire marshal does them. On September 17th, Captain Randy Owen went out and did a fire inspection, the yearly fire inspection in 24. And he discovered that the doors were not in there, and he contacted me. And that is what brought all this to our attention and started the ball rolling. We started to look into it and discuss it with the contractor at the time. I asked him for some documentation as to what took place. He provided me with an email that stated that these doors were to be removed from the original plan set at somebody's request.
What year in 24? What month?
This was in 22.
22, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You found out in 22?
No, ma'am. I just found out this in
24?
in
what? That's-
24. Started in
month?
September.
Okay.
We started to do this
Did
investigation.
that communication come from our engineer, architect, or?
We did speak to Oakley Collier, who was the architect. I've had many discussions with them. He stated to me in an email that I requested his code path on how he came up with that, because the original plans that were drawn by Oakley Collier were drawn properly and met all building codes with all 7 of these exits in place with a clear path to the public way. The original plans were drawn perfectly. There was no question. The problem arose when these 7 exits for these 7 young children's classrooms were taken out. Nobody could explain how or what code path they used to take these out, was my question. We began to discuss code-wise. I sent it off to the Department of Insurance for their opinion. And they were in agreement with me that these doors do have to go back in. They should never have been taken out. There is no code reason that allows them in an unsprinkled building. So all these doors have to go back in there. And
Well, can I ask you a question?
yes, sir.
You said the plan called for the doors to be there and they
That
were
is
taken out.
correct.
Am I assuming that the doors were never there, or were the doors there?
The doors were the original plan set that was designed by the engineer and architect show the doors in place. For some reason, somebody, as we said, decided they did not want to spend the money and were told they do not need the doors. The process should have been at that point by state statute and 160D. Any changes made to any blueprints, changes, or permit has to be sent back to the building code official for his review. We can find nothing that it was sent back to be reviewed. Nobody knows anything of how this took place. Contractor followed the recommendations of the architect. We have no documentation of anything that anybody reviewed these plans originally. Nothing was stamped. We have no idea how this transpired, but we do know that it does have to be.
Well, the doors were taken out and everything in terms of the architect, or the doors someplace in a storage building?
I'm sorry,
Or
sir.
the doors someplace in a storage building? Where the
No,
doors are-
the doors, these were,
Okay.
it was actually set in these plans that a window is going to be cut out in these 7 rooms and replaced with a storefront and these egress doors to make things up to code. So at this point,
What needs to be done now?
at this point, the original plans have to be used and these 7 doors have to be installed with the egress path going to the public way as the original plans were drawn. At the time, they took $50,000 out. So at today's cost, it's going to be hard to give you a figure.
No, 87 is what we, no, 87,000 is what we receive in revenue from the lease, yeah.
What now?
How much
87,000 is what we receive in, rental fees.
you got?
So we don't have a price for the
You
door.
don't have a
Yeah,
price on
not
the
yet,
door.
we don't, not yet, not yet.
So are we, so are we here to look at getting pricing on the doors?
No, we here to approve it, right?
Yeah, so I guess my ask is, would the board share in the cost or cover the cost for Franklin Vance Warren to be, just because I feel as if when this happened in 2022 was no fault of their own from the discussions that we had with them, they actually disclosed to our staff, who's the project manager, that the doors were needed, but they were told that in order to reduce the cost of the doors need to come out.
The building is a project of the county.
It is,
belongs to
and the lease
county
says so as well.
responsibility.
Now, we had that change order. Have we looked at our minutes to see who presented that change order?
No, what change, the $50,000 reduction, we have not.
That would be.
We have
somewhere
not.
To find out maybe somebody who actually presented that.
No.
Do it matter? Because of
Does
simple
matter.
fact, because of the fact that the doors gotta be
I mean,
replaced.
liability issue.
Do we have the money to cover the doors?
Oh,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Make a motion to cover the doors. Let's move on.
Okay,
And I'll second that motion.
county 100%, okay.
100%.
There's more to that story than that.
Sir,
There's another part of that story too that we need to deal with.
We have a motion and a second in the discussion.
Yes, I've got discussion. please.
Okay, go ahead.
yes, sir.
It's my understanding that in addition, when they did the fire inspection, there were some sprinklers that were not in place in the cafeteria.
There are no sprinklers in that building. The whole building is completely unsprinkled. There is no sprinkler system in there, no standpipes at all. It is a fire alarm only building at this time.
Okay. And that reduces the occupancy potential for that building.
So yes, it does. And we are actually in discussion about that now on the senior citizen side, as to recommendations as to how to make that conform with the occupancy of that assembly area as large as it is being unsprinkled.
I guess my thoughts are, I know there was some preliminary conversation about Vance County not having a place to assemble people. That facility is larger than this room. And I know you could probably make smaller rooms and do things like that to reduce the occupancy,
Yes, sir.
but we need to evaluate also the potential for maybe sprinkling that so that it would be suitable for more assembly type.
You're absolutely correct. Myself and Captain Owen, we were called over there because there was a request for an occupancy for something that the senior citizens wanted to do. And once we calculated the numbers, we found out that there was an issue there with that being well over 20.
5,100 square foot, which equals 331.
It brought us over the threshold for sprinklers at 300 people based on the calculation of 15 people per square foot. So it's an issue where there's a possibility of breaking into 2 fire areas. We're going to discuss that with the architects at this.
What was the occupancy that was calculated?
I forget what the square footage was, but when we calculated it at the assembly square footage, I think we used 15 or 7. I can't remember what it was. It brought it over 300. 300 is the trigger for sprinklers.
But if it was 302 or 303, did?
And as soon as it way over.
Up there.
Oh, yeah. It's not even close.
Okay.
So we're going to discuss that with the architect. Frankie is in discussion with them now to figure out how we can make the senior citizen side compliant, whether it's sprinklers or making different fire areas in there to reduce the occupancy side. But it's a rather large area in there.
Isn't there a provision that allows on a temporary basis, if you're having an event where you're over occupancy, that you can actually have fire
With a fire watch.
watch?
Yes,
there?
sir. Yes, sir.
So if we had that single event, There's a possibility we.
Yes, sir.
do
That would go through the fire department, and they've been more than, we met out there at Head Start, and Captain Owen and his team came out there, and we wanted to make sure that these kids were safe in Head Start. We conducted a fire drill and made sure there was 120 some kids in there in 7, 8, 9 classrooms from ages 1 through 4. And how long did it take them to get out?
1 minute and 7 seconds.
So they did a great job of getting these kids out. So at this point, we feel comfortable that the safety factor is there until we can get this thing remedied.
There are internal hydrants in that building, correct?
Internal, what was that?
Hydrants, fire hydrants.
There are no standpipes in there at all outside.
Hookups, but
They're
I ain't sure that-
Hookups, but they're dry.
Yeah, because I remember when,
Yeah, they're
'cause
dry
we had the
standpipe.
old 1.5 connectors on there.
But
And I
not,
remember
not in that.
the city required us to put,
There's-
It's in the social services part.
Yeah, there's none in that wing. Yeah.
When you come through the southern double door from DSS side to the senior center side, it's right there. They don't have enough road to do that for.
That's
Does this have anything to do with the doors?
what I'm thinking. I have a motion and a second to fund
I
the
just wanna get
7
back to the
doors. Yes, to fund the doors. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. All right, now we come to the consent agenda item.
for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Ayes have it. Now we come to miscellaneous.
Yes, we have several appointments for the month. The first is to appoint Jennifer Williams as tax administrator, fill the position formerly held by Portia
Kelly, you got to
Brooks.
move close. I'm sorry. I apologize.
She's old.
I'm old.
The Farmers Market Advisory Committee appoint William Graves III to fill a vacant position. The Carts Board appoint DSS Director Sandy Weaver to fill the position formerly held by the Senior Center Manager Tydelia Hunt. And then the next few boards and commissions, we need a commissioner to be appointed to fill the position formerly held by Sean Alston. Those are the 911 Advisory Board, the Economic Development Commission, the Henderson Vance Industrial Park Board, the Franklin Vance Warren Opportunity Board, and the Farmers Market Advisory Committee.
Madam Chair, I'll move that we approve the tax administrator, Farmers Market Advisory Committee, and the Carts Board as stated.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that Leo be put with the Henderson Vance Industrial Park Board.
That was a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
The 911 Advisory Board.
I make the motion that we appoint Sharice Fain, our new commissioner, to fill that position if she's so inclined.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it.
The Economic Development Commission.
I make a motion that we appoint Dan Brumett, to fill the vacant position for the Economic Development Board.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
And let's see, the Franklin Vance Warren Opportunity Board.
I make a motion to appoint Sharice. Are you interested, Sharice?
Yes.
Second. To the Franklin Vance Warren, or Carolyn? You join me, you got?
You getting us mixed up.
Which one will be on there with me?
I'm gonna take that committee.
What was your motion?
Get your motion straight. Oh, you.
Carol. I'm taking you off, Sharice, I'm sorry.
Okay. I second the motion that we appoint, Chair Carolyn Faines to fill the vacant position of Franklin Vance Warren Opportunity Board of Directors.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
And the last one is the Farmers Market Advisory Committee.
Sharice, you want to be on that one?
Yolanda one.
I moved, we appoint Yolanda to serve on the Farmers Market Advisory Committee. No?
I thought you said you wanted farmer. It's farmer.
I said, I do.
Okay.
She want to be on it?
Do you want Yolanda? Or you- Okay.
Now let Sharice want it,
Can I get you on anything?
because this is being, it's a vacancy created by, Mr. Austin, and since you're now taking his position, would you be interested in serving on that? I don't mind.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay,
For the opportunity, I'm on other boards.
so go ahead.
I make a motion that we appoint Sharice Faines to serve on the Farmers Market Advisory Committee.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it.
That's all the appointments.
That's it.
We will go in closed session to discuss the property matter.
Second, anybody say?
Second.
And we'll have
Going
minutes.
into closed session.
We'll have minutes for approval.
All in favor going into closed session?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Do we anticipate any action other than minutes? Other than minutes? We do.